Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something you've probably heard of, but maybe don't know the full story on: indigenous knowledge systems. And trust me, it's a term that's packed with surprising depth, one that really challenges how we think about science, about tradition, and even about wisdom itself. So, let's get into it.
All right, so let's just tackle the big question right off the bat. When we talk about indigenous knowledge, are we just talking about folklore? Old stories passed down? Or is it something more? Something that's actually a rigorous, systematic way of understanding the world? One that has a lot to teach us, even today? I mean, really think about it for a second. That phrase, ancient wisdom, it kind of conjures up images of something mystical, right? Maybe something a little unscientific. But what if it also describes a system built on millennia of careful observation, of trial and error, of a deep, deep understanding of ecology? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore.
To do that, we first have to get past all those stereotypes and lock in a clear definition. This isn't about romanticizing the past. Nope. It's about understanding a powerful and, frankly, very much living system of knowledge. Okay, so here's a more formal definition, but I want you to notice the keywords here: cumulative, evolving, and relationship. This tells us right away that this isn't some static set of rules that got frozen in time. No way. It's a dynamic body of knowledge that's always being updated, always being refined. And at its core, it's all about understanding the incredibly intricate connections within an ecosystem. And when you look at these key characteristics, you really start to see how it all clicks together. For starters, it's holistic. It sees the world as this interconnected web, not just a bunch of separate parts to be studied in isolation. It's also passed down through doing, through practice, not just by reading a textbook. And this is so crucial. It's empirical. It is based on hard data collected over hundreds, sometimes thousands of years of direct observation. This chart does a great job of laying out the differences with what we might call Western science. And look, this isn't about one being better than the other. Not at all. It's about recognizing they're just different approaches. Where Western science often likes to break things down into smaller and smaller pieces, that's reductionism. Indigenous knowledge is holistic. It looks at the whole system. One is often about the numbers, the quantitative data, while the other is about long-term, qualitative observation. Even their goals can be different, working toward balance and harmony versus aiming for control and prediction.
Okay, so that's all the theory. But what does this actually look like on the ground, in the real world? How does this knowledge actually work in practice? Let's check out a couple of absolutely incredible examples. First up, something called the Three Sisters. And this is just a perfect example of pure ecological genius. We're not just talking about planting 3 vegetables next to each other. This is an elegantly designed, completely self-sustaining agricultural system.
So here's how this brilliant system works. First, the corn grows tall, acting like a natural pole. Then you plant the beans, which climb right up that corn stalk. But the beans are also doing something amazing. They're pulling nitrogen from the air and putting it back into the soil, which basically fertilizes all 3 plants. Finally, you've got the squash, with its big, broad leaves spreading out across the ground, acting like a living mulch that blocks out weeds and keeps the soil nice and moist. It is a perfect symbiotic relationship, honed over centuries. Just incredible.
Okay, here's another really powerful example, and one that has huge relevance for the world we live in today: cultural burning. At its heart, this is the practice of using fire as a tool, not a threat, to carefully manage the landscape.
And let's be clear, this is not about destruction. It's the complete opposite. It's the precise application of cool, slow-moving fires done only at specific times of the year. What this does is it clears out all that dry underbrush, the very stuff that fuels those huge, catastrophic wildfires we're seeing more and more. It also helps native plants that are adapted to fire to thrive, and it creates healthier, more resilient habitats for all kinds of wildlife. It's proactive landscape management, not reactive disaster control. So, after all that, we get to the big question. Why does any of this matter right now, today? Well, because these ancient systems might just hold some incredibly relevant answers to our most urgent modern problems.
Just take a look at this number. Let it sink in. 80%. That's the amount of our planet's remaining biodiversity that is found on land stewarded by indigenous peoples. Let me tell you, that is not a coincidence. That is the single greatest piece of evidence for just how effective these knowledge systems are.
And the potential for us today is just vast. We're talking about new strategies for adapting to climate change, proven models for sustainable agriculture that actually work, even new leads for discovering life-saving medicines. It's an absolute wealth of knowledge right there for us to learn from. At the heart of so many of these systems is a really profound shift in perspective. It's a different way of seeing the world, And it's captured so beautifully in this one idea. It's a worldview that's all about long-term responsibility, about being a good steward, not just about short-term gains.
So it all leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? As our world is desperately searching for more sustainable, more balanced ways to live, it seems pretty clear we have so much to gain. The only question left is, what else could we learn if we just took the time to truly listen?